Hello everyone, this is Gorlami, and today I'm introducing a new video series called Pilot Skillshare for the RS2Vietnam community. So after spending over 950 hours in the game, in that 250 hours as a pilot, I still see players struggle with flying helicopters all the time, despite there being quite a few tips and tricks videos on YouTube for this subject. So I want to help improve the situation by getting more information out there with the more in-depth and structured material. My current plan for the series will cover the physics involved in the helicopter flight, specs and performance stats, control scheme, basic and advanced maneuvers, and tactics for each helicopter in the game. Keep in mind that a lot of what I'm about to share are based on my personal take, so I'm not claiming the absolute authority on the subject. One of the most amazing things about Rising Storm 2 is how much realism they've put into the flight mechanics for the type of game it is. So for the first segment, we'll start with some basic science of helicopter flight. As you know, a typical helicopter has a main rotor and a tail rotor. Inside the cockpit, we have the cyclic stick, the anti-torque pedals, the collective lever, and the throttle. However, the game automatically manages the throttle for us, which definitely makes the game much more accessible for the average gamer. The main rotor is responsible for creating both lift and the forces to pitch and roll the helicopter. When the collective lever is pulled up, it collectively increases the angle of attack of the main rotor blades, thus creating lift. If you're used to games like Battlefield or Grand Theft Auto, it is very important not to view the collective control as a throttle, and more on that later. The cyclic stick tilts the main rotor disc on whichever direction you pull through a device called the swash plate. This in turn alters the angle of attack of the main rotor blades at different points in the cycle, creating forces to pitch and roll the helicopter. Now, as the engine turns the main rotor in one direction, it also creates torque on the body of the helicopter to make it turn in the opposite direction. So the tail rotor is there to counter this force and to stabilize the helicopter. The pedals alters the angle of attack of the tail rotor blades, giving you the ability to yaw left and right. And we all know that damage to the tail rotor is going to give us a bad time or a mandate to RTB for the very least. Now, what's equally important to understand are the forces of air acting on the helicopter during flight. This is so-called drag. For example, when you pitch nose down and increase collective to accelerate, the drag increases as well, both on the body and the rotors of the helicopter. Same thing happens when you turn the helicopter, and the harder you turn, the heavier the drag. This is why you should never see the collective as a throttle, because the drag on the rotor blades increases even more the more you pull the collective up. Meanwhile, the engine can only put out so much power, and the stress on the rotor blades will start to stall the engine if you continue. It's just like trying to drive up a steep hill on high gears in the car, it just won't last very long. In the current version of the game, we have 4 helicopters: the Loach, the Cobra, the Huey, and the Bushranger. Each helicopter serves a distinctive role by default and has vastly different handling characteristics. Of course, depending on your skill level as a pilot, it is possible to extend beyond the designated roles in some cases. When comparing the handling of these helicopters, you can think of the Loach as a dune buggy, the Huey as an SUV, and the Cobra as a muscle car, while the Bushranger is basically the same Huey under a heavier load. So in the following content, I will leave it out for the most part. As you can see from these stats, the Loach is extremely lightweight, so it can accelerate from standing still to low speeds, as well as fast turning response, but the acceleration doesn't sustain well into higher speeds. Note that in real life, the Loach actually has a very decent top speed, but unfortunately the devs have decided to cap it at about 98 knots. The Huey and the Cobra are actually powered by the same engine. It has a lot of horsepower. That translates to a great power-to-weight ratio for both aircrafts. But because of the difference in their airframe, the Huey uses that power to offer more stability, while the Cobra trades in some of that stability for extra speed and acceleration. That's it for this video. I will talk more in detail about these numbers in the charts in future videos for each aircraft. The next video will be about the control scheme that I use, which allows me to fly with free look always turned on. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.